No, I'm not going to talk about rates today. Instead, I'm going to talk about something that maybe people aren't quite getting in the current climate. And also, I'm going to address a question that I got in my DMs regarding home prices and why producing more homes will not bring down prices. Let me start here. A Canadian conservative icon advises Carney to pull back from the US. You recognize this fellow? Carney's team sought Harper's trade advice, and Harper advises to look beyond the US. Harper describes himself as probably the most pro-American prime minister in Canadian history. And even the most pro-American prime minister in Canadian history says it's time to abandon ship. This is really a wake-up call for this country to truly diversify its trade export markets. Why? Because the US is going for a shit show. They're going to add $3.4 trillion to the debt. Now, you have to understand something. He doesn't understand what inflation is or what it does. Trump says a weak dollar is a good thing, actually. Yeah, because the numbers go up higher when the dollar's weaker. Like, you know that, I know that, right? If you lose value in the dollar, the exact same thing will cost you more dollars. He thinks that's wonderful. My worry here in Canada is that our Bank of Canada is going to follow suit with the United States and print money willy-nilly. Hopefully they don't. But TIFF has a poor track record. This was published in the Telegraph this week in the UK. Money printing has impoverished Britain and no one is accountable. That's true. That's true. Money gets printed, right? It floods the system. The costs of everything go up. Your pay does not. It's a problem everywhere because it's a human nature thing, right? Like, he thinks a weak dollar is fantastic because the numbers on the balance sheet go up because the dollar is weaker. But the same is true of pay. If your pay goes up, that's a bad thing, right? You don't want to pay people more, even though the numbers on the balance sheet are going up. So yeah, if this happens, inflation's going to get worse. Much worse. How bad? They're telling you how bad. I don't think people really grasp this statement. It gets repeated again and again and again. But I think people see it and don't understand it. The dollar hasn't fallen this fast since 1973. This is back when they took the US dollar off the gold standard. And then there was the oil crisis, which put inflation through the roof. The dollar hasn't fallen this fast since then. This is not good. And this is just the beginning. All right, so let's bring it back to housing. I was asked, why is it if they produce more oil prices go down, but if we produce more housing costs don't go down? And the answer is profitability and price control. As much as people like to think that there's a cartel that's controlling the price of housing, there isn't. There really is not. There's a cartel controlling the price of oil, of course, and they do a very good job. And they maintain elevated pricing. If it wasn't for OPEC, oil producers would be competing with each other to try and sell oil cheaper than the next guy, and it would drive prices through the floor. But OPEC keeps a tight lid on the production of oil, and it keeps prices high. That keeps profit margins high. Right now, Saudi Aramco's profit margin is 42.78%, and it was almost 60% a few years ago. But that's not the case in housing. Right now, it's the opposite problem. There's no money to be made. From BC Business, real estate in crisis, inside the economic meltdown threatening BC developers. It's happening in Toronto too. Like, no one's going to build if there's no buyers, if there's no profit to be made. People aren't going to do stuff for free. Have you ever been on a construction site? It's hard work. Am I going to do that for free? No. Now, this article is from a few years ago, from 2023. The problem's gotten worse. This is from February. Under pressure, how rising development charges and taxes are reshaping Canada's housing future. Basically, builders are blaming taxes and fees. Why? Because that's the only place left for them to try and squeeze out some extra profit. Because they can't raise prices anymore. People can't afford the prices. And everyone's operating at the bottom right now. The margins are very tight. In Ontario, the average developer margins have declined from 14% just a few years ago during the peak of the market, that crazy bubble. That was only 14%. And now it's 10.7%, and in some cases, it's less than 10%. Concrete, great example. Concrete operates at a 2 to 5% profit margin. There's no room for it to get cheaper. So this comes back to what I've been saying for years now. Building more homes will not drop the price. There's not enough margin there. No one's going to make money on volume because there's not enough margin to begin with. The only thing that's going to happen if there's a global housing boom is the cost of housing is going to go up. And keep this in mind too. Go Google this one. As we talk about a shortage of housing, there's ghost cities all over the world. There's ghost subdivisions here in Ontario. Subdivisions that were created by investors, and there's no one who really wants to buy these places, so they rent them out cheap. The problem is not the cost of the housing. The problem is that you are not making enough money because they keep driving your wages down. And there's a very real possibility that that's going to get worse.